Right, so shall we get into the ringside report then, Cal?
We shall. Let's do this thing.
Awesome. So starting off, as shockingly we seem to have to do quite a lot lately, is another botch from Nia Jax. So this one's actually
Botch,
we've not
please.
seen, and we probably won't see because I believe this was for tapings. So obviously we're probably not going to see the actual botch, but it seems like it was actually quite serious. Like she took a lot of heat backstage, and sadly, it was Kairi Sane again. So did you have a chance to read about this one, Cal?
Yeah, I saw it. It came as no shock or surprise to me whatsoever. But poor Kyrie, they were using the first botch in the storyline, weren't they? Like trying to like play it off. But then I believe this one was very serious. Cause,
do you know what? I don't know which is worse because this one she's actually busted her open. There was a spot they were doing on the ring steps that again I don't think we'll ever see. And obviously she fucked it up and she's cut her open. So this one probably looks a bit more grim, there's a bit more blood and all that, but it's more head trauma again. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like the part. I'm more. I don't know. It's more annoying that it's the same last as well. It's like, have you got some? Do you genuinely have accidents here, Nia? What the hell?
Yeah,
poor Kyrie.
The thing is, though, as well, what makes this even sadder is like we've seen it go on record as like slating Ronda Rousey for injuring Lexi, and it's like, well, hang on a minute, like the amount of people you've injured. And then also you've done the same thing where you've injured the same girl twice. It's just like, I don't know. I've said before, I'm kind of done with her because I just don't think she got the respect.
I agree with you, and like I won't name any names mostly because I can't remember who they were because they were development or quite sort of less head of NXT talent, but people have come out to her defense, and I understand if you're friends with people and you want to defend them, and they were like, oh, I've worked with her multiple times and I've never felt unsafe, and it's like, well, bully for you, but she's actually injuring people. It doesn't matter whether she's had good matches at this point. It's like that's one too many bad botches, really.
Exactly. It's one of them where, if it happens once, then okay, accidents happens twice, okay, fair dues. It happens on a consistent basis and she doesn't really do anything about it to rectify it, then just screw you. Really.
Yeah. Well, I listed it separately, but we'll talk about it now because it's relevant. It's thanks to Nia that one of the other headings I've got for the Ringside Report is the fact that the WWE have sought to ban the turnbuckle bomb or the buckle bomb, whatever you want to call it, because of how badly it was botched with Kairi. Or that seems to be the root of it. I don't want to put it solely on Nia's shoulders. I mean, I believe we've also injured Sting and Finn Balor the same way, so it's not like it was ever a massively safe move anyway. But I think that's been the straw that broke the camel's back, really. So I say the other notable one is that WWE are banning that move now. I mean, what do you make of that? Do you think there is a way of performing it safely? Because I know Rollins, he's cocked it up a couple of times, the two that I mentioned, but he has done it plenty of times where it's not gone wrong. So do you think it might just be a move that you can't always perform accurately, or?
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it, really? Because you can train to take a bump, but for a turnbuckle bomb, then it is possible to be you've got to throw them. It's such a way where you're not going to over do it to the point where they miss and bang their head on the back, or where you're going to underdo it and you're going to. So it is a hard move to do.
Yeah, I suppose what you say. I mean, I never really thought about it like that, but like the more I'm thinking about it, it's like, well, that'd be like having perfect aim every time. It'd be like a basketball player never missing the basket. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you're never going to get it wrong. And you need some really good aim, so it's not too high or too low to like you say, to land the head in the wrong position, I suppose.
Yeah, and I mean, like to the person who's taking the move as well, like there's not really much they can do. They've got their back literally to the turnbuckle, so they can brace for impact. But
you can't really. There's no position. You can't tuck or pull your head back really to maneuver it. You're just going straight into it, aren't you? So, like you say, just brace for impact, I suppose.
Yeah,
but
so, I don't know.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. I feel a little bit sorry for Seth because isn't this the second move he's had now that's been banned? I know he's got the curb stomp back, but it's like, yeah, unfortunate that it's almost like his moveset's rather dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know. I just hope that Nia continues to maintain a very limited move set, so we don't end up just seeing basic moves get just banned every move she does. Right, no like, drops anymore.
Can't do a clothesline anymore.
I mean, if anyone could fucking botch a clothesline, let's be honest.
No, you can't throw them at the ropes anymore. But yeah, I mean, it's one of them. I don't want to be too harsh on Nia. I don't want to ever see anyone lose their job or anything like that. But like, we're getting to a point now where it just seems that she's massively unsafe.
Yeah, it's like I said though. It's like everyone has like Owen Hart, right? He's from the Hart family. He's so technically gifted. Do you know what I mean? And he screwed up Steve Austin, so it can happen. And it's the thing that you take. But when it happens consistently and you don't seem to really give a shit, that's when I give a shit, because for me, you just haven't got the respect, and you shouldn't be in.
And that's the thing. And whether the actual choice to use the first botch as a story was Nia's or WWE, it was in poor taste. But like you say, going at someone like Ronda Rousey when you're known and have been bad for botching is just ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, so we'll move on to the next one, which it's not. I suppose it's not really news, but it's interesting that he's saying it, and it's Matt Hardy has been interviewed and was basically asked about his return, WrestleMania 33, I believe it was, with Jeff, and obviously the massive pop they got, and the sort of lackluster run. And I know we were plagued with an injured Jeff and so on, but they were sort of asking about that approach, especially because of how he's been doing in AEW at the moment. And basically, he's come out and pretty much admitted, like, yeah, you know, they sort of squandered their return, and it basically that there was loads that I think we've heard it before as well, that he was suggesting things and they weren't really on board for it. And I don't think McMahon in particular got the whole broken thing, which is people were wanting it when they come back. Everyone was chanting delete straight off the bat, you know what I mean? But yes, it's not, I don't suppose it's news per se, but yeah, it's just I think it's an interesting one that he's sort of come out with it, you know, because he's got a lot of respect for WWE, and he never left on terms where he was sort of bad mouthing them, and even here he's not really bad mouthing them. It's actually from it was a tweet in response to I don't know, it was a Jim Valley. I don't know if it's anyone sort of significant in the industry, certainly not a name I recognise. But yeah, and he just said that he was grateful for the return and the time there, but it could have been so much better. So he hasn't really been massively disrespectful to them, but it's interesting to sort of hear him sort of say it, I suppose. And I'm in total agreement. I think they kind of wasted their return. Even a return as the Hardy Boys was kind of squandered, really.
Yeah, you know what? It is a tough one, because everybody was like clamoring for that character, and to see that character in WWE where there was a lot more eyeballs on it. I think for me, it made perfect sense the way they brought them back at Mania for that pop. Like, you know what I mean? There's no way you would ever get a pop like that if you played some, like, you know, piano music and it was like the Damascus thing and people were like, who is this? And you know,
to be honest, there's plenty of people in WWE who would need to have been introduced to it as well.
Exactly.
Like there was a high chance that I wouldn't have known about it, other than the fact that YouTubed a lot of the broken stuff, because I didn't watch TNA. So I didn't actually see him in TNA. I just saw on YouTube some things about it because people were sort of talking about it. But there was plenty of people, I'm sure, in WWE Universe and in that audience who they wouldn't have had a fucking clue. So it, like you say, it makes absolute sense to come back as the Hardys and essentially start that story again.
Yeah, because like, I mean, you look at AJ Styles when he debuted at the Rumble, and it was like, this is music I've never heard before. Like, who is this? And then it was like phenomenal. It was like, oh my god, it's AJ Styles. Like that worked because he wasn't from WWE previously, so you didn't have any expectations or you know.
Yeah. I mean, what didn't work was the fact that they didn't take the camera off Roman Reigns' face, so we never got to see him enter the fucking ring. But yeah,
you know, minor things. But yeah, so something like that, so it can work. But I think for this Damascus character, because the WWE fans are typically casuals as well, who wouldn't have necessarily followed them after the fact, it wouldn't have made sense. They would have been like, well, why is Matt Hardy gone mental? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They would have done it that way. And the fact that they had both Matt and Jeff, it made perfect sense to bring them back as the Hardys. And
totally
for me,
bringing Broken Matt and Brother Nero in would have just been fucking mad.
Exactly. So I think it made perfect sense at the time, but I completely agree that after they came back, obviously they won the titles and stuff, but then they just didn't have anything for them. And you've got a character there in Matt Hardy. Like, they should have just brought them back at that, had them lose the titles, and then straight away, you know, introduce the broken character, or you know, do something.
And they tried to meld the Woken Matt with the Bray Wyatt stuff, which sort of landed, but for the most really didn't. And it was a very diluted, very much weaker version of the broken gimmick, which I've said previously I never really got anyway. And I don't know what it is, and I don't even know whether to give WWE credit, and I don't know whether you agree with this, but I think even just the sort of mess of their return in WWE has helped you understand Matt creatively, so that when he went to AEW, he could come in as Broken Matt, and it wasn't like, the fuck? I don't know whether you agree with that or not, but like, for me, if he'd have come into AEW as Broken Matt, it might have been a little bit like, okay. Do you know what I mean? For people who only ever remember him as the Matt from WWE. So it's probably done him a favour that he's had that squander before he's gone over to AEW to do what he wanted to do with it all. Because you could see the potential there, it just never really come to fruition.
Yeah, it's a really good point, that, to be fair, because at least the eyeballs have been on like a diluted version of that character. So to see it just be like go up a notch in AEW versus what they saw in WWE versus feeling like, well, I've never seen this before in my life and it's weird. Yeah, it's a really good point.
And now we've got to a level that I completely enjoy because you don't know what Matt you're going to get. It's fucking weird. Weird and wonderful.
It's definitely a unique gimmick that I've not really seen before.
Yeah, I remember you saying, and I know we never actually got it, but I remember you saying when they were talking about a match at the Hardy compound that you would love to have seen Jericho go through a similar thing to what Matt's doing now, where he went through some of his old gimmicks through the Lake of Reincarnation. But I love the fact that they've leaned into that reincarnation element. Not that you need the lake in particular because it was just a pool. But I love the fact that it's basically like that split personality thing is just being really leaned into because it makes for a really interesting, over the top, albeit, but interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was a big fan of Foley with his Dude Love, Cactus Jack, Mankind. Like, for me, that's the closest that we've got to kind of see. But even then, it was never, he didn't just change up the gimmick like in the middle of a match or, stuff like that. So it's definitely
yeah. And this probably could have been one for the Jericho segment. And I'm not trying to say that Jericho invented this gimmick, but did you know that when Jericho started in Fozzy, he went by an alias and didn't acknowledge that he was the same person as Chris Jericho? So Jericho started the multiple personalities. You heard it here.
Very interesting.
But so as I say, it's not sort of news, but one that I thought worth a mention, really. So the next one I've got is Ric Flair. I found this one quite interesting, and sadly the link I sent you was for Matt Hardy again, so apologies for that. You might not have been able to read on it, but I'll give you a brief in that. I didn't realise they'd been fighting over this, but it turned out they had been because they've only just settled it. But Flair was trying to come at WWE, not in any sort of aggressive term by all accounts, because he's still on some sort of friendship with them, so I imagine in some sort of legal sense, so not personal, but he was trying to come at them for the gimmick of the man, suggesting that he is sort of almost the originator of that nickname and that sort of thing. So he was trying to suggest a copyright claim over them. They're making the use of the man for Becky Lynch. And they've now settled. We don't know what level it's been settled. So WWE are free to use it on Becky Lynch all they like. He's no longer challenging. I imagine he got a paycheck for that. But what I found more interesting is the sort of, I don't know if you'll disagree, but the pettiness of such a, like, for me, that calling someone the man is not something that started with Ric Flair. That's just bullshit. That's just a common turn of phrase. The reason Becky used it, she might have had a nod towards Rick, I don't know, but the reason it seemed Becky was using it is because the man is always a man, and it was a play on that. Do you know what I mean? I don't think Rick was ever in anyone's mind, but it seems he felt it was significantly connected to him enough to make a copyright claim against it.
Yeah, it's a weird one, this, because like it's not like it's his nickname or anything. Do you know what I mean? It was one of his catchphrases, wasn't it? To be the man, you got to beat the man. Woo, right? So you get it, right? But he was never known as like the man, Ric Flair, or he never said like, I'm the man. It was just to be the man, you got to beat the man. So it was just implied that he was the man.
I know, but this is the bit that kind of bugs me. Is like, that's just a turn of phrase. That's like me saying to be the best, you've got to beat the best, and then trying to put a trademark in for being the best. It's not something I invented.
1 second, we've got Bret Hart on the phone. Best there is, best to watch. Oh shit.
But it is that example. It's like, imagine Bret trying to put a copyright claim in because he invented being the best. It's just bullshit. Yeah. It's just a phrase people use. I can't even believe that it'd have any weight. And I don't know if WWE are prepared to fight it on that basis, but it seems that they've just sort of settled it out now, which when you're a $1 million company, it's probably not even worth hassling about, is it?
No.
Sorry, $1 billion now? Are we $1 billion company? I don't want to be unfair.
Who knows anymore? Who knows? But yeah, I don't know. It's such a shame, really, to think where Ric Flair has kind of ended up now, where he's having to file for like petty things in the hope of getting a little bit of a payoff. You know what I mean? It's a shame considering, but I didn't even know anything.
I'm actually slightly curious whether part of the settlement was to have him appear on TV again, because it looks like it was settled either around or slightly before the him appearing on the phone to Triple H on the celebration. So maybe he's got some sort of appearances scheduled now with WWE, some paydays, and that's why he's letting it go. I don't know. I mean, you wouldn't think he'd be, given how much they love Charlotte. Oh shit, he wasn't the one who put Charlotte in the front of everything, was he? Was that the deal?
Oh, damn it.
Like, you want me to drop this Charlotte on every show all the time?
That's it. That must be how they settled. Thank God.
Yeah, so I'd say it was more just that's a slightly interesting one, although they have settled it. Would have been nice if I'd have picked up on it when they were fighting, but hey ho. The next one I've got is actually a little bit of past tense now, given that he had a bit of a non-speaking role on SmackDown this week. But it was just to confirm that Gulak, although they haven't confirmed how long for, he's signed a multi-year deal with WWE now. So it's good to have him back. I think I'm hoping that they don't just sort of waste what had happened, because they had some really good momentum coming off the fantastic match he put on with Daniel Bryan, and then he weren't there. And I hope, and I know it was only a week, but like this week he's not done anything other than stand there. So I'm hoping that they haven't wasted the momentum he was building as a wrestler. How do you feel about Gulak being back in the fray, as it were?
Gulak? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm happy because he's a good performer, but you got to wonder, haven't you, what, you know, he didn't settle on anything. He allowed his contract to expire. They've managed to actually reach a settlement now, but is that now just mean he's just going to squander in their books, because they'll just be like, okay, well, we own you now, and you let your contract expire, so fuck you, we've got you for the next however many years, and we're just going to allow you to, you know.
I mean, I'll be curious to know how many years and not that we'd ever get to find out, but I'm curious to know how many years they've got, because you could even argue, like, at such a time of uncertainty when they're letting people go left and right, whether he's like, well, this deal has secured me for X amount of time, so yeah, use me or don't, I don't care, it's a payday. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't seem the type. I think he really wants to wrestle, so I can't imagine he'd sort of be happy with them squandering him, but maybe he's secured himself and his family financially, and that's why it's a worthwhile deal for him, you know, because it's a rocky time being in WWE at the moment. I mean, we've seen one of the writers of SmackDown getting kicked out as well, haven't we? Not to bring another news point in. Was it Big Dick Johnson has been let go, hasn't he?
Has he?
He has. I didn't even realize, because he's just that sort of daft gimmick from way back when. But apparently he was one of the writing staff in the back on SmackDown. So interestingly enough, people moving to background roles, and yeah, they've let him go as well. And not even because of budget cuts. By all accounts, he's pissed Vince McMahon off, as it's so easy to do.
Yeah, not ideal, but I don't know. I think in terms of Gulak, I'm not really sure where he's going to go as a character. Like the stuff with him and Daniel Bryan, and like starting off as foes, and then all of a sudden he's his coach, and then they're like best buds and stuff. Has been okay, but like where's the next step for him? Do you know what I mean? He signed a multi-year deal now, so hopefully they've got some plans for him, or he's at least got an idea. Otherwise, he is just going to be signing it for security more than anything.
Yeah, it's a shame really, because it would have been for me a good opportunity. And I mentioned at the time that I was surprised Brian didn't give him the rub and give him the win and go further in the tournament. It made sense because evidently his contract was up and he weren't prepared to renew at that point. But it's a real shame he never got to at least the final of the IC tournament, because I think that would have massively legitimized him as a one to watch, as it were. I don't know how you feel about it, because you're very precious about the IC title, so I don't know how you would have felt about him getting close to it like that, or even getting the title. But for me, it would have been a good move for him.
Yeah, I don't think he's ready.
All right, okay. maybe the 24/7 title.
Oh yeah, you can have that as many times as you want. You can have the US title. Just move him over. That's cool. But yeah,
we can't take that off Apollo just yet.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't think an IC run makes much sense at the minute. You know, I'm actually excited again about the IC division, with it being the finals of AJ and Brian. So those are the kind of workhorses that, you know, you want. And Gulak can definitely, he's got the ability, but I just don't think he's got the character work yet.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, we've not seen an awful lot of him yet, so it's not like you can sort of automatically say that. You know what I mean? So I do take your point on that one. Okay. I had one about again. Did not expect the Revival to turn up as quick as it did, so that was one of me headings. Obviously they have now. So the next one, probably the most interesting one for me actually in this segment, is the potential for Adam Cole coming to AEW. Now, this is very much rumour mill stuff, but his contract is coming up with WWE, and he's obviously got connection to AEW, so there's a lot of talk that maybe he's had his tenure there and he wouldn't be looking to renew. What do you make of this one, Carl?
I can see a lot of legitimacy in it. To be fair, his missus, old Britt Baker, is over there. He was seen recently. I think it was around after the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. He was seen there just chatting with all the guys. He made an appearance because it was obviously in Florida. And he lives in Florida. So I can see this happening for sure. People have been wanting him on the main roster for a while now. And I don't know. I think he's never really been the guy to, necessarily want that or anything. So he's an indies guy, and I think with everyone now realizing they're going to have more kind of creative freedom and stuff like that, then AEW is a very interesting option for people. And I think with the kind of close ties he's got with people there, I can definitely see it happen.
This is the thing with AEW. People don't really give them credit just yet because they're nowhere near the size of WWE, and that is totally true. But this is probably the best place to not be financially unstable as being on an independent circuit, but still having the sort of creative freedom. Like you say, it's to me, it's definitely the next best option for a lot of people, and I can see a lot of people like Cole, a lot of people with a lot of talent going there, even taking a bit of a pay cut to go there. I can definitely see that. And he's seen what they're doing for Britt, so that's got to be a massively good example for him as well.
Do you know the only thing that could kind of get in the way is who's he closer with? He seems to have a very good bond with Triple H. So it's like, is it? I'm not saying is he closer with Triple H than he is with his missus, but I mean like the other people down at AEW.
It's that classic case, is it, of bros before hoes?
Because I mean, from by all accounts, Britt Baker said she's tried out for NXT in the past, didn't get the offer. They still let it go down to every show to watch him, and they're quite happy with that. Tony Khan is happy for it to go down. Triple H is happy for it to be there. There was even one point after, I think it was a takeover show, where they accidentally got her and they filmed her on camera. After Adam Cole took like a pretty nasty spot, and she was like looking quite concerned and stuff, and Triple H came up to her afterwards and was like, well, we're so sorry, we managed to get you on camera and stuff. I hope it doesn't cause any problems and things like that. So they seem to have quite a good relationship in that sense.
Hats off to the professionalism for both companies there. I think that's it's really, really well handled, that.
Yeah.
But yeah, be an interesting one. I mean, I've not seen a lot of him in NXT because he's not been on camera a lot with all this that's been going on with the coronavirus. So I've not seen a lot of him on NXT, but he certainly seems like a talented guy, and I think he'd do well in either capacity, wouldn't he? Whether it be sticking with NXT or jumping over, I think we'd happily see him either way. Next one I've got, Carl, is there's a suggestion now that Samoa Joe will be permanently replacing Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. What do you make of that? I mean, he was surprisingly much better on commentary than I actually realised he would be, but it's the sort of step away from the ring, or the suggestion of the step away from the ring on a more permanent basis, is the surprising element.
That's kind of come from nowhere. That I assumed he was still not ready to compete back in the ring, so they've just kind of gone, well, okay, you can have a commentary gig for the short term. But it seems like he's done, which is what I mean, is really crazy if that's how he goes out. They've announced today that what's it called? It's not Talking Smack, the Raw version of it. But that like little show that they have, like the little talk show for Raw, it's going to be him and Charlie Caruso who are hosting that. I think it's called Raw Talk or something. But
yeah, so didn't want to call it Talk and Raw and be too obvious, like.
So yeah, it seems like he's definitely getting involved in everything in that regard. So I don't know. So it's just, has Lawler just done with now? Has he kind of been given the JR treatment where Vince has just gone, okay, he's too old?
Maybe, but that'd be a crazy move, because I'm not saying AEW would jump on it, but getting Lawler and Ross back together on commentary would be an interesting one for AEW, wouldn't it?
That would be proper cool, even if it was just like for like a one-off thing, even if it was just to like commentate the Jericho Tyson thing. If that,
because that's the thing. We've seen them get people in just on a temporary basis, haven't we? So that could easily happen if Lawler becomes a free agent again. On that sense,
it's one of them. The Lawler that kind of was perfect for the Attitude Era, like the whole puppies and like stuff like that. And it's a different time now. Do you know what I mean? He's getting in a little bit of hot water with the stuff he does say. and even that's a lot tamer than it ever used to be. So
I think it's probably just for marks like us, isn't it? Because it's like, well, JR and King were the commentators of the Attitude Era, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But
I'd love it. Even if it was just a one-off or something, I'd love to see them two back together again.
Oh yeah, I hope it does happen in at least a one-off capacity, like you say. But yeah, I mean, fair play to Samoa Joe if he has to go out, and it's not 100% confirmed that he's never coming back to the ring. But if he has to go out, he's proven himself on commentary. As far as I'm concerned, he is really good. So I don't mind that, really don't. Right, next one I've got, Carl, is Mick Foley. Just a random one. There's no actual detail to this. He's deleted his Twitter. With no word, so no one knows quite why. People have cited his other social medias, but they haven't been updated in a good while. So no one's too sure why he's made that move, and it was very sudden because I was reading something he put on Twitter not the day before he suddenly had been deleted from it. So what do you make of that? Do you think there's anything going on there on the old Mick Foley front, other than him adopting a rhino, which apparently he did?
I mean, yeah, it seems odd, doesn't it? I don't know why. It does just kind of feel like it came from out of nowhere. So
yeah, and he's not a massively techie guy, but he was getting there with it,
Yeah, I think I saw something where he maybe put something on his Instagram, something saying he's contemplating, or he might have put it as one of his last things on Twitter, saying currently contemplating a return to Instagram. So maybe he's just because I don't imagine he gets much shit. We know Twitter can be somewhat toxic at times, but I can't see someone like Foley getting any shit because everyone loves him.
It's not like he's gone onto Reddit, is it? Let's be honest. He's on Twitter. They surely have nothing but love for the hardcore legend. And bear in mind, his daughter is still on there. She's not said anything, so I don't think it's anything too scary as to why he's gone off it. But yeah, an interesting one nonetheless, because obviously he was always really good at following people as well. If you were a big fan and stuff like that, and you engaged with him, he'd end up following you, and people were buzzed off it and stuff like that. So it is a shame for the fan side of it. But obviously, if it's something he's chose to do and needs to do, then fair enough. But sadly, we're not sure why that is just yet. Right, so the next one I've got is again, it's a bit of news, I suppose, but almost for me, and I don't want to dismiss it completely, but a bit of an attention grab from CM Punk as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how you feel as to the constant and ever staying suggestion that he is going to return at some point, but he likes to fuel the fire every once in a while. And the most recent one came from a response Punk made. I want to check if it was on Twitter or not, but essentially they were discussing Punk's best matches, and Punk sort of got involved and responded with to be confirmed, or TBC. So everyone's like, oh, is he coming back? He's not had his last match. He's not had his best match there yet. So, and again, I don't think he has currently. I don't think he might come back. I think at some point it'll draw him in. But right now, I think it's just a way of sort of keeping the fire going, I suppose, or messing with people in some way. I don't think he's actually got any intention, personally, on my perspective. I don't think he's got any intention to come back. What you make of it?
Even through the darkest days, the fire does still burn, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and but yeah, I don't know.
I've heard he's a cult of personality, isn't he? So
he's a cult of fucking attention whore, is what he is. I think the problem with Punk is, right, and I love the whole best in the world Punk and the pipe bomb and blah blah blah. It was cool. Like the Money in the Bank thing with Cena, yeah, great. But the guy he's ruined himself. He's not going to be that hot again. He left when he was a star in the wrestling world, and he decided, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go and be an MMA guy. Got twatted twice. Has finally made the big return, but to fucking a subpar
WWE backstage, okay, that's kind of ruined that then.
Exactly. So it's what? It's going to be a bit of a damn squib now if he does finally turn up. Obviously he'll get a pop and whatever, but okay.
See, I think that the longer he leaves it, the less of a pop he's getting. A lot of people, they will get into a point now that people are going to have to be reminded about CM Punk before he comes back, and that will be the marker that he's coming back, when WWE, who've got a history of just ignoring him, will start going, oh, do you remember this? Do you remember his epic title run and stuff like that? And then you go, right, he's coming back soon because they're fucking milking this. And that's what they're going to have to do to get people thinking about him again.
The only thing I do wonder is whether it could be somehow related to the next little tidbit of news that you've got to share with us.
Okay, I'll jump over to the next little bit. Are you ready for it, Carl?
I'm ready.
So quite recently, Darren Young, of all people, has suggested that the original plan for WrestleMania and certainly something that's not off the cards. But the original plan for WrestleMania before, so I imagine before the coronavirus fucked it up, was to have the Nexus return. But sadly, they don't offer what capacity that was in. So, because I mentioned this to you before we went on the air, as it were, that there was that many members of the Nexus. Some of them are still in WWE and are in much bigger and better positions. So I can't imagine seeing what was his name? What was Bray Wyatt's name when he was in there?
Oh, Husky Harris.
Husky Harris. I can't imagine seeing Husky Harris as part of the Nexus again. So it makes you wonder when they say about the Nexus returning who they were getting, because you'd need some big names. But last I heard, the likes of Wade Barrett and stuff they were done. They were done with the place and still are. So
yeah. So I mean, with this, so Darren Young is the one who's come out and said it. I think his direct quote was, if Nexus would have come back, and who knows what would have happened, but we were scheduled to come back for WrestleMania. So we still implying that he was involved in that. But if you look back to the original Nexus, as you've said, like Wade Barrett, he's now in does commentary for NWA, so he's not there.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say Justin Gabriel. He's off elsewhere. I can't see them bringing him back at any point. They've just sacked Heath Slater. Ryback, I don't believe he's coming back anytime soon. I think David Otunga's still there somehow.
Yeah, I think. Am I right in saying Curtis Axel was in there as well? Maybe as Mike Bigelow, but he was in there. They've released him.
You had Titus, I think, at one point.
Yeah.
In fact, was it Titus? I might not have been actually. It might have been that other dude.
But like you say, like Ryback's another one. He's still very outspoken about the WWE. I can't see him coming back anytime soon. So you wonder what the Nexus would have been had it a comeback. But you make an interesting point. If there's a little nod from CM Punk that he was coming back, he obviously not part of the original Nexus, but eventually became the leader of the Nexus. So was it in that sort of formation?
Exactly. So maybe that was it. So maybe that is why it's TBC, because the original plan was he should have been back by now.
Do you know what's a bit of a mindfuck though? Like, he was suggesting that this was going to be a plan for WrestleMania, that the WrestleMania that's just gone, and a lot of the people that some of the people that we've listed were released after that. So imagine, like, you're Heath Slater, and you're thinking, fuck, we're going to get the Nexus back together. I'm going to get a good push here at WrestleMania. It's going to be boss. And then they don't do that, and then you're released. Like,
I mean, Jesus.
How much of a fucker would that be if the suggestion is true? Because they must have given them a brief on it, like, this is what we're looking at doing. So, I don't know. Do you think they would have even kept them in the wings if they were part of that plan? But, yeah, what kind of Nexus would we end up with now?
I mean, I just think the whole thing in general just sounds mental. The fact it came from Darren Young as well. Like, I don't even know if is he even still with WWE? Like, I don't think so. No idea.
No, I don't think he's with WWE.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, you never know, do you? Because people go move into that many background roles or that many part-time roles that you don't know whether he's still got some involvement. He was obviously in talks with them around that time, so maybe. But yeah, very interesting one. And for one, unless you can bring the Nexus back properly, I wouldn't be keen on it. Like, I think Barrett would be a key player in bringing them back. I don't think you could ignore his contribution to it. So I think if you brought it back with Adam, that'd be enough.
Yeah, I think it's probably kind of came and run its course now, really. It was obviously really good when they made their debut, but it would just feel like, unless it was like a bunch of current NXT guys who form like the new version of it or something, do you know what I mean? But even then, that's...
Yeah, that would have been, like, okay, I guess. But no, I think we're done with it. I don't think they should ever bring it back. To make something new, similar, even fine, but don't just go with the exact same name.
We're not the Nexus. We're the previous.
We're the Nutsus. But it's like, and again, I might get a little bit of heat from you from this, but it's like when they went, yeah, DX is back, but it's just Triple H and Shawn, and they're a little bit more PG, so it's not as good. Like, well, don't call it DX then.
Yeah.
I know they want the nostalgia pop with that. It makes a bit more sense. But it's that kind of thing. It's like, well, if you can't do it properly, don't do it.
Yeah, no, I do get that. So I don't know. I did quite enjoy it still. But it wasn't the DX that we once knew, but like it was Shawn and Triple H with China, who were like the founding guys. So that one didn't bother me too much. But for me,
I use that as an example, Carl, because they were a much tamer version. But that brought one of my favorite Shawn moments when he kicked. What was the guy's name? You always remember that line? Yeah,
Stan.
Just kick Stan. It's like, that's fantastic. I love it. So yeah, they were still funny, and they still play off each other really well. But now it was always going to be a tamer version of DX, and so it's just an example in my mind. Not as bad an example, but an example.
Yeah.
The next one I've got, and this was actually just, I think it's just been released today, or just been sort of opened up today, as it were. WWE have introduced a free version of the WWE Network, in which apparently you'll be able to watch some recent Raws, SmackDowns, NXTs, etc., select pay-per-views, and I think it's probably the main reason that they're doing this is to push a lot of their original content. Maybe some of the stuff that isn't doing too well, they'll get you on the free one and go, well, watch it, it's free. Yeah, you can't watch the Undertaker thing, but watch this free one. But yeah, so we're going to get some limited stuff for nothing, Carl. How do you feel about that?
I feel
You're logging into it now, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I feel like it would be good if it would let me fucking do it, because I tried to get it before, and it's just not having it. It says to get it, you have to download the app. So I've done that.
Oh, you have to get a whole separate free app, do you?
So, well, it's just the WWE Network app, so you can just download it as you would do anywhere, whether it's on your telly or anything like that.
Right.
It says in order to get it, just download the app, and apparently it'll be dead easy. But no.
But no, you can't get the app, so it's not that easy.
Exactly. So, yeah, not really.
So you heard it here first, guys. It's free if you can get on it.
Oh, maybe you just don't need to create. No, maybe you do. I don't know. Like they basically added different padlocks to certain videos, but then there's other videos which
I don't want to spoil it for you there, Carl, but I'm in the app now.
Yeah.
They've just got padlocks on certain things because I'm not paying for it. So I can't watch Money in the Bank. I can't watch WrestleMania. I'm gutted so far. But you can watch select things. So let's go to Raw, because I know people are dying to know whether I can watch Raw.
So basically, if you've had an expired account, then if you just log in with that, then you just watch the...
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, same account. And yeah, you can watch recent Raw as recent as, well, I've got 20th of Jan. Why is it giving me that one? 27th of April is the most recent Raw I can watch.
That's definitely pretty recent, that.
Oh yeah,
January.
So yeah, guys, get on there. It's good fun. I'm sure you can still watch some old stuff that's enjoyable, but it's better than having nothing for free, isn't it? So it's a winner.
Definitely.
Right.
I'll be looking through the old list of pay-per-views, see if I can find any little nuggets in there to watch.
Yeah, be sure to look out for Charlotte. I believe she's all over the thing now. Thanks to the WWE Network, you can now get Charlotte on the very first Raw, superimposed.
Well, I believe they superimposed her into WrestleMania 13, so they changed it, so it was actually Charlotte versus Charlotte. We didn't know which Charlotte was the real Charlotte.
That's that's something I think we all wanted, so I'm glad they've done it.
Exactly. I know everyone was crying out for that.
I mean, I couldn't believe that particular... I can't remember what WrestleMania it was, Carl. You might recall when Charlotte managed to power slam Andre the Giant. That was crazy stuff.
Oh my God, WrestleMania 3. It's crazy. She hasn't really aged, has she?
She's really not. She's doing well. I'm glad she lost the tash. But yeah, sorry. We just needed to moan a little bit because they're putting her everywhere. It wouldn't surprise me if they try and put her in past pay-per-views. Right, so the next one, a bit of controversy here, and I hated this news article because they made it sound like it was AEW, right? Because the article I read and the reason it tweaked me interest is because it was like, oh, AEW's, I can't remember quite how they put it, but it was like basically suggesting that AEW is dealing with some controversy over homophobia and racism, and I'm like, what, AEW being accused of this? Like, that's how it kind of made it sound, but evidently AEW have cut their ties with Clutch Adams. Have you seen anything of him? I believe he's been more on AEW Dark than anywhere.
No,
but he's been up against the likes of Sean Spears on Dark and stuff like that. I don't think anyone's seen him on Dynamite. I could be wrong. I certainly haven't. But it's one of these things where he's been sort of, people have been rooting through his Twitter. So these were comments he made back in 2013, and someone's posted it to the likes of Cody, to the likes of Tony Khan, to AEW on TNT and so on, and put, is this really the type of person you want to be advertising? And they've just put a screen grab of all of his previous comments, which were, I won't obviously read them out, but they were sort of like your typical asshole comments. And, fair enough, he's come under a bit of fire for it, and they've gone, well, we don't want that kind of behaviour. He's since issued an apology. But also quite recently, because he apologized for all the stuff he said historically, but quite recently he's moaned about another promotion that he was an independent promotion he was working with, and he referred to like people there saying like, oh, unless you're butt buddies with them, and then people have gone, you realize that's like a homophobic thing, and he sort of apparently responded to that by saying, oh, I thought it just meant like when they're really close or something like that, like playing ignorance to the terminology. But yeah, it seems he's claiming like, you know, he made those comments when he was 19. He was just stupid, and and I'll accept that he's sorry for it. But it seems AEW's response is to go, now we're going to distance ourselves from that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
sadly, I don't think he's a big enough star to for AEW to do anything else really. It's not like if
Well,
Cody
exactly.
had made these comments, they might have gone, "All right, we're going to give you a warning here, Cody."
Yeah.
But
Well, exactly. Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? Like if he's still saying it like today and stuff like that, where he's calling someone like butt buddies and stuff, then obviously he's still a bit of a dick. But it does
yeah,
piss me off something rotten when people go on like try and find old stuff when like you may have been immature. And you know, back in 2013, this was before the world just went ridiculously politically correct and stuff like, you know what I mean? Like the world has changed very abruptly, very suddenly. So it's like I feel like it's really in really poor taste for people to go on witch hunts of people's pasts and try and kind of drag them down for stuff that happened at a different time. Do you know what I mean? But
no, I agree with you. I mean, like you say, people can get really sort of irate over things, and we're not trying to dismiss that these were insensitive comments. But like you say, it's like everything evolves, and people are more socially aware now. You can't get around it. It's like similar to the whole issue that they had without digressing from wrestling, the whole issue they had with Guardians of the Galaxy when they released James Gunn because of the comments he made historically. It's like, well, like you say, you're being held to something that when you were a totally different person, like people can grow and mature. So, I mean, he's not helped himself with, you know, comments from a few days ago still being sort of vaguely homophobic. But even so, like you say, I think he has probably matured from that idiot 19, because it was that typical sort of playing games online kind of teenager abuse kind of, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. Without trying to say, because I don't want to be quoting him, but it's that kind of behavior, and he was a teenager at the time, so he was obviously quite immature at the time, and I'm sure he has grown from that. But nevertheless, AEW have made that call. And the last one I've got, Carl, is, and make of this what you will, because this has come from Meltzer. He claims that Dominik Djokovic is heading over to Raw, but cannot confirm when that will be. Just knows it's going to happen.
Yeah, I've heard this one a couple of times. I mean, it's the most Meltzer fucking thing ever, isn't it? I've heard this. I've got no context around it whatsoever. I've heard it from somewhere. It was probably just me saying it to myself, but you know, yeah, it's probably going to happen.
And bear in mind, this could just be a sort of an educated guess at a time when you've got the likes of Matt Riddle and that moving over to go, well, someone's going to go to Raw. Yeah, probably. And an educated guess that it'd be Dominik Djokovic, given his current status in NXT, that he's a major talent, but he's someone who could move over quite easy. Again, another good shout. So it might not be a fact per se, but certainly something he's saying it's a definite. They just don't know when, or he can't confirm when.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's been talk of a couple of different NXT guys getting brought up, hasn't there? So obviously we've heard about Riddle. I believe Velveteen Dream is very a high possibility.
Probably lower now with all this controversy over the pending. I don't know if it's going to be a court case or whatever, but the accusations that were made, they might sort of keep him out of the main roster for a little bit.
Yeah, it's gone a little bit quiet. All that stuff. It's one of them. I still don't think they'd be pushing him as hard as they are doing in NXT.
Yeah, because he's going to be in your house, isn't he? So
yeah. So I don't know. It's one of them, but I think it's so easy for the likes of Meltzer. Like obviously he's got inside connections and stuff like that, but he's like a fucking tarot card reader or something, isn't he? Or like a psychic. You know, he's like, yes, it's definitely going to happen at some point. And then 4 years down the line when it actually happens, he's like, see, I told you it was going to happen. And like if it doesn't happen, he can just go, well, plans changed. And it's like, oh fucking hell, just
plans changed.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's one of them. You got to take everything he says with a pinch of salt, guy. But
sadly, yeah. I mean, to be honest, for a company run by Vince McMahon, you can never take even something that's a stone cold fact might fucking change. So exactly. It's a hard business to be in predicting WWE.
Yeah.
And that for the Ringside Report, mate. That's the last one I've got. Unless you have anything else.
No. The only other stuff I've had is you've added this morning, like the WWE Network going free and stuff like that. So make sure you don't pay $9.99 unless it's for the premium content.
Yeah.
That you want to watch.
That, unless you're desperate to watch the Money in the Bank or WrestleMania again, just get the free stuff. And I will be finding out tonight whether the Undertaker stuff is free, because I still haven't finished them. It won't be.
100% it won't be.
We'll see about that, Carl.
I can't see that being free. No, it isn't.
Damn it. Right.
What about Ruthless Aggression? No. Yeah.
So it's going to be like Total Bellas or some shit. That's what I'm going to get for free, isn't it?
Well, you know, if needs must, as long as it's free, we'll make do.
Right. So shall we move on to segment 3, which definitely hasn't happened yet?
Definitely, of course.
Awesome.